Good afternoon, Berlin. While we wait for the rest of the people to join us, do you want to stretch? Have you been sitting for too long? You can stretch, that's fine. Take your arms up, stretch them really well. Feels good, right?
Hello, hello, everybody.
Say hello to the person next to you. Take advantage of the networking that we have here at the fantastic event. And we'll be off in no time. Sorry?
Yeah.
I had to rush a bit.
Well, they want to make sure that no one leaves.
Oh, okay, okay, nice.
So we have to warm up.
How was it actually? Because I just arrived from my train.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah. So there are like pretty lots of interest for a bear market.
Well, if you need some time here. So you're Dmitrii, I'm Anna.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
I didn't get this speaker.
So, people are coming.
You're just right on time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's nice to be early in terms of agenda for a change.
Hi.
There you go.
Hey. Nice meeting you.
How are you? Nice to meet you as well.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear us?
Yeah, well, there's
ready.
two other people that are missing, so let's just give it a minute or so.
So let's kind of introduce ourselves at least, so we know.
Yeah, we'll go right ahead. Anna, do you want to come up?
I think Nikita is missing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on and get started. We can do this standing up if you want, or we can sit down. We can sort of break the rules and do a stand-up panel, if you will. So let's get started then, right? So good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here in Berlin. It's been quite a few years since I was here. I really love the city, and I'd just like to say thank you to the Next Block's organization. It's been fantastic up to this point. A couple of words about myself as well. My name is Pedro Cerdeira. I'm originally born in Lisbon, Portugal. I still live there. I've lived elsewhere. What do I do today after having spent about 30 years of my life in the enterprise IT world? As any decent crypto person, if you ask somebody what they do and if they just come up with one thing, then that person is not a real crypto person. So I do quite a few things as well. I run a consulting company that is now taking Web2 into the corporate, Web3 into the corporate world. I teach at one of the Portuguese universities. I run an investment fund in Web3 startups, and because I had a little bit of extra time and I don't like Netflix, in the past couple of months I've put together a Web3 coding academy. So we have a world-class panel here with us. We have Dmitrii, Anna, we have Naveen as well, and we have a couple of a person which is missing. I think the person will eventually come, but let's see. So, getting on to you, and first the topic of what we're going to be doing here today. We're going to be looking at the challenges of merging the Web2 and the Web3 world, especially in terms of corporates. And technology, and see how this whole thing works and why we are at this point. But first of all, let's do the intros on the panel. I would just ask you to please say your name, say what do you do. You can take a little bit of time explaining exactly what it is. And I would throw in a special question as well, which is, what is your superpower? So Dmitrii, do you want to start?
Yeah, all right. So, hello everyone. Very nice meeting you here at NBX. I am Dmitrii. I'm a co-founder of Subsquid. And in a nutshell, what we do at Subsquid, we make sure that the developers have the best tooling for dealing with the on-chain data. A little bit about my background. I broke into crypto in 2017. I have engineering and academic background. I got PhD in pure math. And of course, I was really interested in the science behind. And then when I started to dive deeper into this, it turns out that there is like a lot of possibilities to cross over the engineering and the science advance. So I worked at the decentralized protocol for IoT data. I was working on the indexing solution for like YouTube and blockchain. And a year ago, I set up Subsquid with the mission to make the on-chain data accessible to the largest audience of the dev developers in Web2. Thank you.
What about the superpower then?
I think my superpower really comes from the academic background, so I can easily speak with the really hardcore devs. But at the same time, I really relate to the degen guys and like marketing stuff. So I kind of do the gluing between the teams at Subsquid, talking the same language with the devs and also with like a normal marketing field folks at the team.
Fantastic. Anna, do you want to take it?
Me? Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. It's a bit loud. My name is Anna, and I work for Michael Page for 11 years now. I'm not sure if everybody here knows Michael Page, because we're more of a Web2 or Web1 or Web0 brand. But we are a very strong recruitment agency, 45 years operating around the world, 10,000 people working for us. And I built the IT department over there when IT was not a big topic yet for us 10 years ago, and managed to scale it a lot so that nowadays around the world we're 1,000 people recruiting just IT at Michael Page. And now I'm very happy to say that I launched the first of its kind blockchain recruitment hub over there, where we try to analyze the market and see where we can help bridging Web3 and Web2 world, recruiting strong IT candidates like Ethereum developers, Solidity devs, Rust developers, CTOs, and so on, as well as business development people and VC level. So this is what we specialize on. And my superpower, as you called it, I would say apart from networking and recruitment, is thinking out of the box in an environment that is maybe more classical, like Michael Page, to see how can we innovate, and to do that with 1,000% passion behind it. Thank you.
Great, great stuff. Naveen, you want to take it?
Hello, everyone. So good to be here in Berlin. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to the panel. And my name is Naveen. I'm co-founder of a Layer 1 protocol. And we are doing some very interesting things in the decentralized world. We are the first protocol which has brought the decentralized database data management system. So everything which you guys see in the terms of data, which is everything which we do is we generate data, and all the data is in the hands of a lot of centralized companies. And we are doing an honest effort to do the decentralization of that data. It's very wide use case, and it's going to impact a lot of people, retail and business houses, and their lives to have a secure, immutable data on-chain, which is only accessible, or the data belongs to the end user, and only accessible through the private key. So no more data, I would say, theft of data or data sharing with big tech companies, bringing the empowerment of the real use case and the real use of data in the hands of the customers whose the data belongs to. So I'll just pass on to our friend now.
Hang on a second. What's your superpower? You don't get away like that. So what is your superpower? What is your superpower?
You mean the project or mine?
Your superpower in person.
So I was a professional athlete. So I was in Swiss Olympics team, and the career started as a professional athlete, and then I'm a PhD in sports science, and being now in the IT world from last 10 years, built quite a few protocols, and now from last 3 years we are working on the decentralized space. So my superpower, I don't have any. I'm just, I'm learning from the panel and everyone I meet.
Nikita.
Hi everyone, my name is Nikita Sachdev. I'm the CEO and founder of lunapr.io. We are a leading Web3 PR and marketing agency. We focus on PR and communications. We're headquartered in Dubai. I'm from the States, from Texas. We have an office in Miami and Singapore. We have a large team of over 100 employees. We've worked with some of the best projects in the space. I also own the franchise of Cointelegraph Middle East, and I'm the host of CNBC Arabia's first ever Web3 show. It airs 3 times a week, prime time, hitting 50 million homes.
And the superpower?
My superpower is, I don't know, I guess I would say, it sounds a bit cliche, but I would like to say my superpower is entrepreneurship. In the last 3 years, I've grown a company from 5 employees to 100 employees, and I've done fantastic deals with the media. So I really pride myself on how I've grown my business.
Great, great. So Web2, Web3, businesses, corporate projects, whatever. So maybe we should start with a little bit of definitions, if you will. I mean, let's not go for the classical thing. And you can jump in anytime you want. I would propose to you that we do this in a lively discussion instead of just going around the thing. It's the afternoon and it's after lunch, and some of the people might just fall asleep in the audience. So it's up to us to make sure that we put up a decent discussion. So Web2, Web3, what is Web2? What is Web3 in your opinion? Why does it need to be bridged? And what are the issues that are now on the table? Who wants to take it up?
So I guess I'll go since I'm holding the mic. So I guess Web2 is kind of like what we all know of today. When you give your grandma your iPhone or try to FaceTime her, that's your grandma not understanding Web2. You will be that grandparent if you don't understand Web3. That's what I keep telling everybody. Web2 was all about the internet. Web3 is all about decentralization. It basically takes away all middlemen. Blockchain is one aspect of Web3. Cryptocurrency is one aspect of blockchain. So contrary to a lot of beliefs, Web3 is so much more than just cryptocurrency or blockchain. Web3 is artificial intelligence. Web3 is big data. So yeah, that's my definition.
So I would say Web2 is, as Nikki has just said before, is the fundament where we are standing at the moment in terms of the uses of the internet, in terms of a lot of other devices which are connected to the internet. So actually the infrastructure where we all communicate with each other, all centralized, all actually belongs to 1, 2, or 100 companies, and we are the end users of those products, but we are still in the hands and the mercy of the big companies. Twitter, for example, or Instagram or Facebook, they can block you. They can do this is Web 2.0. There will not be any Web 3.0 without Web 2.0. So Web 3.0 is an escalated level of Web 2.0, whereas there is no middleman. The real power or the real use case or the real value is to the end customer. We all users, we decide which company can use our data, for example, what things we can do, so nobody can actually block us, or nobody can say, okay, Twitter blocked you or they blocked your profile. That's where the Web 3.0, the decentralization part is coming. But we have to be very careful when we say Web 3.0. It's not fundamentally different than Web 2.0, because without Web 2.0 there wouldn't be a Web 3.0. So we are taking the whole experience of user or the corporations on a secondary level where the users are empowered and are more powerful than the big tech companies which are controlling our internet and our surfing behavior at the moment. That's my intake between the Web 2.0 and 3.0.
Great. Dmitrii, Anna?
No, I would agree with the two other panelists because, yeah, maybe just one thing to add. I think Web 2 is, many people refer to it as like Twitter and Facebook and like the big tech companies only. But I think I agree with Nikita that Web 2 is basically anything where you need a middleman, and that is not decentralized. So it could be also companies like mine, for instance, being a middleman in recruitment. So it doesn't have to be just a tech company or a big tech leading firm.
Yeah, these are all great points. Especially, I would support the point that in many ways, Web3, Web 2 is about the data. So Web 2 companies keep the data in the gate-walled data lakes, and this is essentially the core value for these companies, while in Web 3, everyone has access to the same data, which is usually stored on-chain. And for the developers, I think this is the crucial paradigm shift, because as a blockchain as a database is a really shitty product, because it was designed for a different purpose. And at the same time, we are all used to a very slick UX, and we expect that it kind of works the same way that Web 2. But for example, we want to have Uber, but something that doesn't have all our data consumed. So we want everyone to be like Uber on itself. And this is where the key technological shifts currently are happening, is the approach that the data is out there, but you need different tools in order to work with this data. For example, in case of like a hypothetical Uber on Web3, that would allow developers to, for example, create their own custom algorithms for routing, for matching users and the cab drivers, all having the same input that is stored on-chain. But in order to leverage the efficiency of these Web2 builders, they actually need the data in the right format. And in particular, we at Subsquid are set to make this missing part easy. So basically, you still use Web2 tools, but you operate on the open Web3 data that is already out there.
Okay, so I think we've heard decentralization, we've heard control, we've heard information. What else have we heard here? Technology, disintermediation.
I think it's also incentives. For example, if you're a user of Instagram or Facebook, the only incentive to use this platform is to communicate with your friends and consume the information. While in the Web3 world, you also share part of this enterprise. So for example, you as a creator would earn a share of Facebook or like a share of Instagram that is proportional to the value that you have contributed as a creator. And this is a very powerful dynamics, because this actually makes you a partial owner of the whole enterprise, like without any like crazy CEO like Elon Musk, for example, taking over and like destroying your value or like destroying the platform you love.
Yeah. What else have we heard here? Other panelists. Control, decentralization, and technology evolution, and ownership of data, right? So why do we need to bridge these two worlds together? What's going on, and what makes us bridge these two worlds?
So I would add to here that a lot of companies from the Web 3.0 world or decentralized world are actually taking this Web 2.0 one step further, and there are a lot of protocols which are actually working as bridging. For example, I'll start with our own project because we are exactly doing the bridging part. If you see any application which is now programmed in Web 2.0 world, everyone is using a database. So it's a core heart of application is the database. And at the moment, all the databases which are available now from MongoDB to MySQL are all centralized databases. Now the real decentralization, even in the decentralized applications, doesn't matter on which chain they are all using centralized databases. And our company is the one which is the first one in this space to bring a first decentralized database. So it's a bridging for any company who's in Web 2.0 but would like to use a decentralized database for the sake of security and any other things, the lot of benefits which a decentralized database brings in terms of cost-effective security, immutability, ownership of the data, smart contracts, and all these parts which was not available before in Web 2.0. So we are kind of one of the authentic bridging system enabling companies which are on Web 2.0 world to taste what is going on in Web 3.0, why Web 3.0 world is so cool, it's so secure, and it's so good. So these kind of protocols, there are many others doing amazing work in this field. For example, it all started by storing data on blockchains 3-4 years back. And then a lot of big corporations saw, okay, if we store that on a blockchain, it has a lot of benefits which a centralized data center or a server doesn't give. And these companies have started, actually, they laid the foundation of this bridging to giving a taste of decentralization to Web 2.0 companies. And I think these protocols have laid foundation of Web 3.0. And as I mentioned before, without Web 2.0, there won't be a 3.0. It's just an escalation of technology in going in a certain direction, which is giving the power to the end users.
So that's a great point that you make, technology. What is substantially different now in technological terms? Dmitrii, do you want to take this one first? From the pure technology point of view, what has happened here? What type of revolution do we have here that is so different than what we used to have?
Well, I think it makes sense to look back a bit into the history and see how the internet has been developing so far. So around 1990s, we've seen a lot of small websites were basically hosted under the table on some local servers. You can even host your own websites on your computer. You didn't have laptops back then. And gradually, this monolithic architecture has transformed into clouds. So right now, everyone is thinking about Kubernetes, about services, and something that you deploy into cloud providers such as like AWS or Google Cloud. And right now, the technological shift here is instead of thinking about services, you're already given all-permeating medium, which is a blockchain, which is like a very ubiquitous database where all your user data lives in the form of a smart contract. And at the same time, this database is very awkward and like very hard to work with. So you have a lot of technical limitations. So in a nutshell, the technological shift here is that we move away from the cloud to a distributed architecture where everyone has access to all your backends, and there is no single owner, there is no single kill switch which allows you to, for example, fix your bugs on the fly, or for example, just switch the whole application on the whim. And at the same time, you have to deal with these limitations.
Okay. Any other comments on the technology side? What does this pose in terms of problems and issues? For example, security. Would you care to comment on that one?
I mean, in my opinion, Web3 has grown because of the rise of cryptocurrencies, which is built on the blockchain. So in 2009, Bitcoin came to light, and what people didn't understand, what became popular was the underlying technology behind Bitcoin, blockchain, which today is implemented in every single major, in the largest companies today. So blockchain has taken the world by storm. And as I mentioned earlier, cryptocurrency is just one use case of blockchain. The use cases for blockchain are endless, from data, from security, from supply chain. Everything can be put on the blockchain, your identities, your title deeds. And so I think the main, technologically, the main change from Web 2 to Web 3 is blockchain. So when it comes to, I think, challenges, as you were mentioning, some of the main challenges with this blockchain is because it's decentralized, you have lack of government control on this technology. So it causes a lot of hacks. It's lack of regulation. So recently we've seen the collapse of Lunaterra, FTX, 3AC, Voyager. This is all due to the decentralization aspect, that these companies are not regulated enough. One of the major issues with Web3, with blockchain, and then with cryptocurrency is the lack of regulation. And it's just because the space is still very new. And these are teething issues. It happened with Web 2. It's going to happen with Web 3. I think this is one of the major issues. But then the other issues, where do you draw the line? Too much regulation and control can take away from innovation. So I think we're just finding our way, and the industry is evolving very well. Bear markets like this clean up a lot of projects, clean up dirt, gets you guys educated. Everyone's learned their lesson. Get a ledger going forward. So we learn, we grow, and that's the beauty of the industry.
So I've seen Naveen crunch when Nikita was mentioning regulation.
So
let's have it then.
yeah, so with all due respect, Nikita is my very good friend, but I totally disagree with her. All the hacks which happened here were all centralized companies. There has been no hacks on blockchain itself. Even in the blockchain, if something happened, that was the bridges, which were centralized point, and that's why the blockchains were kind of compromised. But blockchain itself is not being hacked. So 3 Arrows, FTX, Luna, these are all companies which are doing tokenization or exchange, and they all are centralized. So I think none of them was from Web 3.0 technology aspect except the crypto part. But on technological level, they have nothing to do with the blockchain protocols. I come from one of the blockchain companies, and I think one of the biggest challenges we have is to find very good developers for blockchain. And that, because you cannot build a technology without humans, without good DevOps. And I think for all the blockchains, it might be Solana for us, it might be EVM compatible on Ethereum, it might be C++. To find really good developers is the biggest challenge. They are very special people. I have a lot of respect for them. I think few of them are sitting here also listening to me and thinking, what the heck is this guy saying? But the more and more developers we will have or we can generate, or the more Web 2.0 super brains start looking into decentralization part and the blockchain part, the more we will see enhancement and adaptability of decentralization. I think this is one of the biggest a challenge which every blockchain company is facing now.
So that's a very good point. I think what the point that you're making is one thing is technology, the other thing is what we humans make as a usage of that technology, right?
Yeah, maybe to add to that
go
one,
ahead.
Because I think with the security issue, I mean, of course, we all think about FTX right now and the failure of centralized entities and humans. And some people, you know, the saying, of course, not your keys, not your coins, and that decentralization would be the solution to all this. And I agree, but at the same time, I think the human failure aspect also prevents that from working, because not your keys, not your coins. I mean, I've had also I use decentralized exchanges, I use centralized exchanges, and I know how many people are not using decentralized way of life in a proper way. They don't care too much about security because it's complicated. It's not that easy, and for the last 20 or 25 years, companies, the centralized entities made anything possible to improve our lives in terms of making it easier. You have Google Maps right now, you have all kinds of help for yourself so that you don't have to think for yourself anymore, basically, or you always give away the responsibility for most things in your life. And I think the crypto world makes you go back to self-custody and everything, but that's difficult when you're so used to everybody making it easier for you to live in a complex life like this, and therefore I think decentralization will have its future, but once the UI UX part is easier for the normies, because right now it's super complicated for most people.
So it brings responsibility as well, and we need to go and do things that we were not used to do. That's your point, right?
Yeah, and I also would like to add how on-chain and decentralized finance brings a lot of transparency to the otherwise completely opaque world. So, in fact, FTX is a lot more transparent and auditable after the FTX hack compared to what it was before. Because, for example, we have no idea where all these billions that were loaned to Alameda Research went. We don't know where they are. But we have a very precise knowledge where are the stolen funds after the FTX hacks that happened just 2 weeks ago. Why? Because all these transactions are on-chain. We know that the hacker has drained into Ethereum, and we know that he's now transferring this Ethereum to RAN BTC, then converting into BTC. So it's kind of paradoxical, but actually after the funds were stolen and hacked, we have a lot more information because it is on-chain. It just indicates how Web3 is a lot more powerful compared to all these gate walls institution where we can only guess and rely on third-party audits to conclude anything meaningful. But what is important here is that even though this information is on-chain, there are still very few instruments that would allow a normal person to track these transfers. Because blockchains are not designed to be very easy to use for reading the data. And this tooling and services that provides analytics, insights, business intelligence are essential for decentralization in the mind space, so to speak, which means that a lot of people, normal people, can easily track all the information that they want to know about. So it should be as easy as typing where are FTX funds in Google, and it should be then easy to track. Okay, here that was a transaction 1 day ago. Here is where these funds, and same goes with all the exchanges and all the institutions. They should be very easy to verify. And the tooling is what is essential for this.
So let me ask you a difficult one. Didn't we all know what was going on with FTX since the beginning? Was it a question of not wanting to know? Or is it just now that it became evident?
I would say it's not just about if we knew or not, but I think most people yeah, just didn't care too much, because I think the problem with FTX was that many very, very famous institutions believed in it, and so you don't do your own due diligence anymore, because you're like, okay, if they do it, I assume that they do a proper due diligence, but they also didn't, because they also relied on someone else trusting that, and we all needed shortcuts apparently, and I think it was just such a fast-paced environment that you're relying too much on shortcuts, and I wouldn't say that we knew, we could have maybe known it before or maybe felt something, but I think we were just too busy finding the next big thing, every one of us, and I guess that's why all this happened.
I think whether you believe in centralized exchanges or not, they are part of the Web3 ecosystem. And there was, so this goes back to what I was saying with FTX, is if there was a little bit of more stringent regulation, that they would have, to see why this proof of reserves became such an important thing after the hack. Why didn't anyone ask for proof of reserves before the hack? And then all the exchanges started showing their proof of reserves. No one even heard about proof of reserves before the FTX hack. This is why I still stand by my point that regulation is important, but the right regulation whereby we don't hamper innovation. I agree, blockchain is not the problem here, but it's these bridges, these exchanges that need regulation. So when it comes to this whole FTX situation, I think if we had more stringent regulation, more auditing on FTX, maybe there would have been a way to catch some falling knives. Because at the end of the day, FTX, one of the main reasons why FTX crashed was because they were lying about their reserves and they were using users' funds to invest it into Alameda and invest into a big ecosystem, and they didn't prepare for a bear market. And what if they had their heads in the clouds?
You want to jump in as well?
I think, you know, Nikki is right about the regulations, but let's see from the past this whole journey of, I'll here not say blockchain or decentralization, I'll just specify crypto. It's a wild, wild west. You know, from the beginning, it's, if you are in this field and if you're deeply into that, you have, I mean, most of the users, I hope they will agree with me, it's really wild, wild west. You know, you don't know. There are so many wallets, there are so many things, then you have centralized exchanges, then you have DEXs. But one thing in this wild, wild west from last 5 years is it's self-regulations which is coming on. It's not so easy now to build a scam project and then pull it through, how it was in 2016, 17 ICO times. And now, as Nikita has said, the proof of reserve, why is it so important, or why is immediately now everyone is talking about it? I think this is the self-regulatory things which are coming. The end users or the retailers or the guys like us, they're becoming aware, okay, if it's a centralized exchange, then they should give the proof of reserve. So I think this self-regulatory thing is much more healthier. Of course, it comes on a cost than just having SEC or one authority regulating and imposing those regulations, because if they mismatch it, then there will be no decentralization. Then it will be just same like Web 2.0. So it's a very a fine line between the decentralization and the regulations which are doing that. For example, the validations and everything which is monitored on Ethereum chain now from the US authorities. I mean, it's actually absolutely against the fundamental decentralization aspect which everybody has believed into the blockchain. So I'm still on the side of self-regulations of the industry, and it has come a very good way. If you now build a project and want to launch it and want to list it and other things, you have to go through so many checks of smart contract audits and this and that. And then, of course, there are still loopholes, but the industry itself has regulated in an amazing way, and I find it really as a research case study to see which industry has regulated itself like that, by having thousands of or millions of people from different backgrounds and different nationalities all working, some with bad intentions and some with the good intentions.
Okay, so we've talked about technology.
I wanted to add something about the regulations, because I actually kind of radical here and respectively disagree that regulations is a sort of silver bullet here, just because even if we look back at the history, all the banks before the 2008 crisis were regulated, like regulated as hell, and it didn't save us from the financial crisis. FTX.us was probably the most regulated exchange out there. They were at the hearings, they were at DC, Washington, like whatever, so that was probably the highest level of trust that you can earn, but still everything was not transparent at all. At the same time, like anons on Twitter who just like monitor on-chain and see the transactions, they do a lot more doing whistleblowers work compared to any possible audits. So my point is here is that all these regulations are always like one financial crash away, and they were always late and regulate like the tech that was like 5 years ago. At the same time, as long as the information is there, some like randos on Reddit or on Twitter will detect any malicious activity way before any investigation from the government forces will kick in. And this is the power, like this is the power of decentralization at the human level. This is where we should strive to.
Okay, so I propose that we switch gears here. We've addressed technology, we've addressed regulation, self-regulation, not self-regulation, too much, too little. I think that's for all of us to see what's going to happen from now onwards. One of the questions that usually comes up as well, and some of you have already alluded to that, it's people, in the sense that do we have the right people? Do we have enough people? Do we have the people with enough skill sets to do this transition which is coming, and which is coming quite quickly? Anna, do you want to look at this one from your, I think you have a unique perspective here from what you do in life in terms of the skill sets and the people that you see.
Sure, but what would be a main question, like Web3 people or like Web2 people going into Web3?
What people do we need going forward? I mean, what people do we need going forward? So is it, what sort of skill sets will we need tomorrow as we go forward? Do we need to reskill? Do we need to upskill? Do we need to get new people in? What do you see?
Okay, I think the most important needs that companies talk about to us when they come to us and when we talk to them about like who do you want to hire, what's your biggest need right now and your biggest pain point, it's right now not just developers, which we assumed in the beginning when we started the blockchain hub. We always expected everybody to come for Rust developers and Solidity devs and maybe Cairo devs. And of course there's a high demand for that, but the highest demand that we feel and the biggest lag or shortage of talent is really salespeople and marketing people who understand crypto and blockchain to the core, not just having bought some Bitcoin some years ago on a centralized exchange, but actually understanding the tech behind it and having a network in this industry. And this is like the biggest pain point because many protocols, many projects, they already built everything and they want to scale, they want to grow and grow in the ecosystem. And what is missing are really the people who can make that happen and who are not just coming from Web2 saying, oh yeah, I might also look into blockchain, and blockchain is the same industry as everybody, like any other industry, to understand that this is a very special industry. And I think this is like the biggest pain point right now. And for this one, we need transition from Web2 to Web3, and I think there are some entities and some organizations and educational centers that support this. One in Germany that probably stands out is the Frankfurt School of Management. I think most of us know about it, that they have several programs, whether it's DeFi, NFTs, to really help bridge that. And I also hope that, or at least we at Michael Page plan to be an active participant in this bridging part as well, because we have very strong Web2 talent, both on developer side as well as on marketing and sales side, that might not yet know about Web3. And I think this is like the biggest thing, because like Web3 companies, they usually, when they recruit, they do hackathons and many other things, and it's cool. You find people there, but who comes to a hackathon? Somebody who is already super positive about Web3, who really loves the space and everything like that. But what about all those Web2 developers, marketeers who are awesome at their job, but they don't know yet what blockchain is all about? They might have heard of that scam called Bitcoin, and that's what they have in mind. And yeah, that's what is amazing for me, because we have a lot of these people, and I'm waiting for, yeah, supporting the transition, yeah, to make it happen.
Same question for the rest of the panel. I think it's really relevant. What do you guys see in terms of the skill set that it's needed, and how can you transition it?
Yeah, I would also be somewhat contrarian here, because in my opinion there is no differentiation between Web2 and Web3. At least this is how it should be. So for example, there are builders who just build products, and for them, Web3 should be no different than, say, Stripe API. So for example, OK, guys, we have a cool product. Let's build some billing to it. Then, OK, we add credit cards payment. Let's also add crypto payments just as an option. So it doesn't really necessarily make them Web3 developers automatically, because they're focused and they're building on their product. But they just use all the available modern tooling that are in there. And in order for this to happen, I think we also should look at what we call Web 2.5. So basically, these are traditional software as a service companies which offer understandable pricing, say subscription model where you pay with a credit card, at the same time leveraging the decentralization technology under the hood. So one of those examples are, for example, providers who provide access to IPFS at the subscription plan. So you still have an API, you still have your account and dashboards, but at the same time, all your data is stored in IPFS or some decentralized storage, and you use it as a tool. And this is what we also use at Subsquid. So we have a decentralized network where we provide all the on-chain data. And at the same time, we offer a hosted service so that developers can just pay their subscription plans and leverage this technology without caring about any token, any custody issues, like going to exchange, and so on.
OK.
Yeah, so I think to answer your question on, I guess, people in this space and what kind of people we're looking for, I guess you can ask the question, what got your parents into Web 2? What got your parents into Web 2? Majority of you would say mass adoption. They just kind of slid in. The whole world was moving into Web 2, so it just kind of happened. I think mass adoption will eventually happen with the route we're going, but it starts off with you guys. It starts off here. It starts off with the pioneers. A lot of you guys are still pioneers. If you're sitting here today, you're a Web3 pioneer. It's still a very new industry. I think pioneering Web3 boils down to one thing: education. Educating yourself about Web3 is what's going to make this industry grow, and how to educate yourself, whatever works for you, whether it's through influencer videos on YouTube, through reading articles or publications, attending conferences, or being hands-on and diving in, opening up a MetaMask wallet and actually trading. Whatever it is, it just boils down to education. That's the most important thing. I'm in media. It's all I do. My goal through the media is to educate the world on Web3, whether it's through Cointelegraph, through CNBC, or to getting our clients out on other Web3 media. The key is to educate people like yourselves and even journalists on what Web3 is about. That's what's going to drive mass adoption.
So now I have to completely agree with Nikita and also Dmitrii. See, I can agree and disagree. It depends from question and the feedback. So I think we are still in very early stages of the blockchain, very, very early stages of the decentralization Web 3.0 world. And what do we need? I think we need a lot of blockchain conferences like this one, a lot of audiences, a lot of speakers, panelists, media agencies like Nikita, developer guys like Dmitrii, Anna. So this whole drive, we need more and more people to just at least ask, what is this Web 3.0 or what is a blockchain? We need good crypto projects where people make money and they get a taste. Okay, this is something which is interesting, because I think there isn't a better motivation than making money. So we need more of news. Well, now there's a lot of news of FTX. So a lot of people who don't know what FTX is trying to try. It comes on a big cost, but at least people are getting informed. So that we need. The second thing we need is, as Dmitrii said, we need the complete easeability of blockchain. Now it's blockchain, 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 but a normal developer should not even think about if it's Web 3.0 or it's Web 2.0. The transition should be really smooth, and that's the user interface or the user adaptability. All the protocols in Web 3.0 should work on that. I know from our co-founder and CTO that we are working on that to have a graphic user interface so similar to MongoDB or any other database that a normal Web 2.0 person shouldn't even feel difference, that his framework, his data is going on-chain or it's on the centralized server. So if this thing starts happening, these are one of the few ones, then I think there'll be a lot of transition from Web 2.0 to 3.0, or it will be, we cannot even separate it. It will be just like in all one, which they said it's Web 5.0 or whatever. So just 2 days back, I was in Abu Dhabi, and the chairman of our board, Mr. Simon Murray, who's a very established businessman and CEO of a lot of companies, he was the founder of Orange Telecom. So he just shared a story which I'll share with you guys. In 1985, he started with mobile telecoms. And the funny thing is, the biggest people who were against mobile phones were the big telecom companies, AT&T and all those guys. And they never believed in mobile phones. So being a group CEO of Hutchinson, he started Orange Mobile for Orange Telecom for 300 million. And the owner of Hutchinson, one of the richest men that time in Hong Kong, Mr. Lee Kuan, he said, Simon, I don't think anybody is going to buy this bloody mobile. So Simon asked him why. He said, every time somebody calls me, first of all, it's a big suitcase or phone which I have to keep with me. And if somebody calls me and I pick up the phone, I have to pay. Why would somebody pay to just receive a phone call? I can have my Fastnet in the home and I can just pick it up and have a thing. So Simon told him, look, this is actually your privilege, that instead of going to home or office, you can talk to anybody while you're in car or on the move or anywhere else. And he said, but I don't think it's going to work. And that stage was telecom. Few years after, they sold Orange Telecom for 32 billion. So that stage where telecoms was, I think the Web 3.0 is now. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you will see that a lot of companies are going to be really big. There'll be a lot of transition between 2.0 and 3.0. It will be all mixed up. And a lot of people hopefully will make a lot of money, including the people sitting in this room.
So very much in that line, there's always communication as well. In order to drive mass adoption, there's the small big topic of how do you communicate, how do you get people on board, how you bring them in, how you recruit them, so to speak. What has changed here in Web3 in order to get more people in? What is the right way to communicate with these people? What sort of tools should be used to address these new audiences?
Pedro, can you just repeat it once? I couldn't hear it.
How do you communicate to these new audiences? So you have already said these people here are the pioneers. You are the ones that are sailing out, or we are the ones that are sailing out, so to speak. How do we communicate? How do we get more people on board? Because there's been changes in the way that Web2 customers used to be communicated to, and now Web3 people are sort of getting used to being communicated.
So as I mentioned previously, I think one of the ways that Web3 is being communicated across all channels are through social media. There's a lot of YouTube videos coming out every day of education lessons on cryptocurrency, these types of conferences. There's the media. There's publications dedicated to crypto, like Cointelegraph. You can read very legitimate news on there every day. I think there are plenty of ways how Web3 is being communicated to people, and then of course word of mouth. That's the biggest way. How many of you got into Web3 because of cryptocurrency? Realistically, probably 80% of you, because maybe your friend told you, hey, guess what? I made 10x on crypto. And then you're like, okay, you made 10x on crypto? I want to get into crypto. That's how I got into crypto, because someone told me that if I invested in Bitcoin, I'd be a millionaire. Not the right reason, obviously. I'm just being honest here. But it got me into crypto. So, and then that got me into blockchain, and then that got me into Web3, and the rest is history. So a lot of you guys will get in because of word of mouth, but it's up to you guys to educate yourself from there. Read the news, understand what's happening, and get savvy so that you don't get caught up in an FTX situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think something I would also like to add, I think it's not just about us getting into Web3 and infecting other people around us to be more into Web3. I think something that's sometimes missing from my point of view is the natural lines between Web2 Web3 people and Web3 Web3 people, because sometimes when I talk to protocols, many of them are happy to talk to us because they know that they need us, they are curious, and actually to see someone like Michael Page coming to Web3 feels like mass adoption, it's a good moment. But what they sometimes miss, or there are Web3 protocols that are like, okay, I'm sorry, you're a middleman, I'm not interested in collaborating with you because of this situation. I can't work with a middleman. Otherwise, I'm not believable. Like, people can't believe in me if I work with Web2 structures. I understand this point, but at the same time, I don't think that the transition can happen just by revolution. It's often an evolution, and for that, there are people in Web2 who are Web3 enthusiasts who love this space and who want to bring it forward. And I think there should be more collaborations between the Web3 natives working in Web3 and the Web2, Web3 enthusiasts who work against very tough structures in their Web2 environment that might not understand what they actually do and what blockchain is. And they do a tremendous job there to actually support the space. And I think there should be more collaboration on that, because when, as I said, natural allies.
Okay, final round, lightning fast, 15 seconds for each one of you. Please take out your crystal balls. It's a simple exercise. What do you see for Web3 next? What is it that it's coming? What is it that's going to be the next big thing, in your opinion?
I would say that probably the next big thing would be an app designed in such a way that the users don't really know that they are using blockchain. It could be free to move to earn, or some metaverse or some game where you trade your assets, you can cash out something, but as a user you never even think where exactly your assets are stored. You just enjoy the gameplay, or enjoy the experience.
Okay. Anna?
I would agree with Dmitrii totally on that. I think Reddit is a great example of that, actually. But maybe to add something else, I think the roll-ups, like scaling solutions from the technical side, is a big thing. I wouldn't call it the next thing, because I mean it's going and it's expanding a lot, but there's a lot happening there. So I'm very curious to see in the next years what will happen there.
Naveen, you've got the mic.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. I would say the next big thing is the decentralized databases. I mean, not only ours, but there will be a lot of them. So millions and millions of downloads of decentralized databases. The data on-chain, secure and immutable. I think that's the next big thing.
Nikita, to finish.
So I'm seeing, through my PR agency, I'm seeing a lot more government involvement. So I'm expecting a lot more situations like with El Salvador, maybe not with Bitcoin, but more adoption of digital currency as main source of currency. I definitely anticipate that soon. And I also anticipate a massive bull run coming up.
Fantastic. You're on the right place. Please, let's give these people a big round of applause. Thank you very much.